you believe that full moons bring more of an awareness of dreams, the dream
I do.
state?
I
I
do,
do
because it
too.
brings up a lot of emotion, and I do. I think it has a
Yeah,
lot to do with dreams, and especially I love this topic, James, reuniting with loved ones in our dreams.
I
Great
love it.
topic.
I
That
love
was
it.
you, and I think it's so. It's so accurate. I mean, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
Where do
the
you
number
find?
well, the number one way spirits communicate is the dream state, and we could say it in many ways. The dream state, the soul leaves the body at night. When you go to sleep, in the dream, you're, as you know, in an altered state of consciousness. Your light body leaves this physical body, and many times they're standing around waiting for you to go. Come on, let's go, and they bring you to the other side. And there is a real world. It's a very solid world, very real world, the astral world there. And you have houses and buildings and gardens and schools and academies. You see your guides, you see friends, partners,
Mhm.
family. And it's something we remember these things in the morning. Well, our conscious mind will remember parts of perhaps that experience. And if you remember that you've seen a loved one that's passed over, it seems very, very, very real because it was
Yes.
real. And it seems
Right.
more real than anything else. Like, this was real. And it is. I remember one of my most incredible experiences. My partner, John, at the time, I was with him for a while, and he passed over. And he used to come out to my house, my apartment every summer. And we spent the summer together. And he used to get up in the morning and make tea, herbal tea for us for breakfast. And in the dream, I had a dream, and I was back years ago in an old apartment, and I was coming down the stairs, and there was a dining room, and it was exactly set up. And there John was making this tea. He opened up the cabinet door, and there were the tea boxes exactly with the names on it. He said, "Well, this is real. I'm here." I'm like, "How are you doing this?" And he said, "Oh, I made this for us. I made
Oh,
this picture for us." So they can do that. They can make these
yeah.
the setting, the atmosphere exactly as it was. That you can, in some ways, it's more real there than here because
Mhm.
everything starts. This is interesting, Kelly. Everything in spirit world, that dimension starts with thought, right? So
Mm.
first place is thought. The last place is physical. So when we think about it, it's first created. All of this world, this physical world, was first created in the spirit world. So that's where its home is really, and
Right.
we reside here, but it's created over there. So when they so often say, "Well, it's a house of the mother, it's a mother's house," or that might be the true mother's house. And they say that's a replica of your mother's house. But to me, I'm thinking that's really the first mother's house, and down here was the replica that was made of that house.
Yes.
Let's reverse it because that's the space of thought, and this is the physical where the thought comes to be realized is here.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to start thinking in those terms. I love
And
that.
dream again. Everybody, again, if you surrender, if you go to sleep at night and think, "I'd love to speak to my loved one," whenever, but don't bombard them because you got to keep it open to the communication, and the conditions have to be right. That your conscious mind will remember these experiences. And I always say, keep your dream journal next to your bed so
Yes.
you can write down those experiences of your loved ones, because that will leave you after a while. It's just like
Yeah.
mediumship. After we do recalculated readings,
Oh,
probably 15 minutes or 20 minutes after, we forget everything,
I have no idea. People will
right?
say,
Same thing with
"Remember when you
dreams.
said this?" I said, "No, I actually don't."
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. People
sorry.
put, you told me this and it would happen, and it happened. I said, "Oh, I don't
Right.
remember that. So thank you, but I don't remember." Same thing in the dream state. You go to that vibration, that dimension, and you come down to the physical, kind of like you're washed away, or your mindset is different now. So
Right. So what you're saying is that sometimes you may not remember that you've
most
just
of the
had
time
a
you won't
dream.
remember.
You won't.
That's right.
Yeah.
Most of the time you won't remember. But if you keep a journal, dream journal down, you can talk about your night, your visitations, and you can also go to sleep at night. As you go to sleep, sending out thoughts about where am I going to go tonight? Is it what do I want to go visit tonight? Do I want to visit a certain person? Let me go visit my mother. How is my mother doing? And let yourself go to
Right.
sleep that way. And I'll remember and just try to say I'll remember this in the morning, but don't beat yourself up. Just put it out there. But it'll be interesting. See what it's going to be an experiment. Use it as an experiment and see how it works for you. And there might
Yeah.
be some experiments work better than others. Some spirit people might be better at doing it with you than others. So
Right.
just experiment with it because it
I
happens.
was very surprised. My dad turned out to be better than my mom with dreams. I was
Isn't that
surprised.
interesting?
I would have never believed that because my
Well, you know
dad
why, Kelly?
didn't believe me.
But your dad is more creative.
But exactly right. My dad was so creative, and he came to me once, James, and I write about this one in the book. Which he used to call me spooky, and he didn't really want to hear anything that I had to say, and he just, I mean, he was whatever. But he was Lee. But anyway, what happened is one night I was asleep, and you can tell yourself before you go to bed that you want to remember your dreams.
Yes.
And often, what will happen is if I have a dream of a loved one, I'll have to get up to go to the bathroom, or my dog will bark or something. And I would kind of remember it. I remember it. But one night my dad came to me in a dream. I was at my old house where I grew up, and I was doing readings, for people. And there was a line to come and see me do these readings. And again, I'm in my old house doing readings for people. And all of a sudden I hear knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. And I go, what's that? You know, the old song, knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
Yeah.
So I opened the door, and there was my dad.
And Dad was a musician. So
he was a musician,
he would
right?
Use that reference.
He would use that reference. He gave me the biggest hug, and then he just smiled, and he turned around and he left, which was totally him. But I have
and that's
to tell
what
you,
he had to do, though.
that's all he had to do. It was such a. I still remember it like it was just yesterday. And then my mom came to me last night. Now my mother doesn't. I have to tell everybody
about this. This is a great one.
So my mom doesn't come to me that often in dreams. It's very few and very far between. And yes, you're absolutely right. My dad was way more creative. But last night, well, I went shopping on Saturday, and I just could feel my mom's presence everywhere
Kellee gave herself a gift. Kellee, let's applaud for Kellee. She finally gave herself a gift to go out and buy some clothes and do some great things for Kellee, because Kellee's always giving his people. Cancer Moon, always giving to other people. So
yeah.
You,
so thanks. So Mrs. Mom, Pa Kettle, we went out shopping, and I shopped till I dropped, and it was so much fun. So I had a dream last night. My mother came to me in this dream, and she looked so radiant and so beautiful, and she was wearing these special shoes. And I looked down and I said, "Oh, Mom, those are the shoes I just bought." And she had this big smile on her face, and those shoes, ironically, those were the exact shoes that I bought. But on top of that, my mom had a pair. My sister reminded me my mother had a pair of those exact shoes years ago. And anyway, it was just a sweet. It was so great. I just wanted to hold on to her forever, you know.
And that just shows you she's next to you. She's with you. She's impressing you to buy the shoes.
No doubt she did.
Because every day they're in our lives involved with impressing us. What is the best for us? And they do it in such a subtle way. You would never know they're around us, but they're there, everybody. They're there very much so. And the dream state, one thing I want to talk about really quickly is that the personalities of them don't change. The personalities are much the same. There's a second cousin of mine who passed away, and I met this lady when I was 14 years old. Met her in Wales, my second cousin by marriage. And she kindest, lovely, talk about farmhouse country. She was in a small town in South Wales. We're talking about, she was born at the town church up the street. And she met her husband or boyfriend, who was my second cousin, at the local pub up the street, which is still there. And I went there when I was 14, 18, 19, whatever it was. And a lovely lady. She likes to take care of the family and stay at home. And that was her place. Her home was it. Gemini, but it must have had a cancer somewhere, because she was just family. And her daughter called me up and said she's passed over, and I was really shocked and went through it. And then about 2 nights after that, I had a dream of her, and she was very psychic, extremely psychic. She would say to me things like, "Are you dating a man? What's your boyfriend's name?" I'm like, 18. I'm like, how does she know this? And she was just very psychic, very natural country psychic. And she came to the stream, and we're sitting in her living room area, her sitting room, with the small couch, and it was all her. She said, "Oh, Jamie," and she said, I'm very upset." I said, "Why are you upset?" She goes, "Well, I don't know what to do. I really can't be with my family, and they were everything to me." So she was in that mindset that she had to still take care of them. And this was 2 months after she passed. So I said, "It's okay, Joyce. You're going to move on. It's okay. We're always with you." And she goes, "I knew you'd hear me and see me." And she said, "I've tried to get through to the others, but they won't see me or hear me. But I knew you would." And she said, "Thank you very much." I just tried telling her, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. But it was so real. It was just so really reach out and touch them. So I call those crossovers. That's the term I use for those.
Crossovers. Okay. Yeah. That's a good one. Jill Lynch says, "My mom came to me in a dream and was literally talking to me. She even hugged me, and it was amazing." There's nothing quite like getting a hug in a dream from a loved one. Nothing quite like it. It's that love. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a go ahead.
No, I had a partner pass over, John, my son.
Right.
And I was in the back of a convertible driving down the street, and he hugged me. And I thought, I'm not sure if we're together, like we should be together, but there was this unconditional love for each other. It was great. Yeah.
There's nothing like that. I have a client, and I have to tell you her dream. She sent me this the other day. She had a dream in 2019 that she was with her beloved mother who had passed, and she saw her mother, and they hugged really tightly, and she was so happy. And then she saw her best friend who had passed away, and that also they hugged and hugged and hugged, which is really, that's not uncommon. It happens. And she said, and then she said, in this dream, she said, all of a sudden the earth shook and the clouds got stormy and dark, and she said she knew that they were in heaven and that she couldn't be there. She wasn't there to join them, but she also knew that heaven existed and that they would be all together. And not too far after that, her beloved husband died. And I thought that was what that was about.
That was the reason that would happen.
Yeah.
Of course, to let her know that he was going to be okay. That there was no death.
That there was no death. Exactly.
I mean, really, everyone, there's no death. It's
right.
like we waste so much time worrying about death. There's no such thing. It's really, should put your mind on death, but on life and how you are in the moments, Thanks, Renee. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks everybody.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.